Hello and welcome to 81 All Out. This is your host, Siddhartha Vaidyanathan, and I would like to thank you for taking the time out to listen to this podcast. We are a crowd-funded endeavor, and you can support us at coffee.com. That's ko-fi.com/81 All Out to keep the show going.
In the air, Nishant takes it. India win.
He'll come back for the second. India have won the test match. India have won the series.
They're going to get back for two. India at home. Lords goes wild.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the 81 All Out podcast. This is Siddhartha Vaidyanathan, and I'm pleased to welcome a special guest today, a very good friend of mine, and also somebody who over the last 3 decades or more has had a 360-degree view of cricket, as he himself says. This is Nishant Arora. Welcome to the show, Nishant.
Thank you very much. I'm so excited to be here, Siddharth. I have been following this podcast for a while and I was wondering when will Siddharth call me. So it's good to be here and it's good to be talking cricket with you because we had a lot of informal cricketing chats, but this is the first one where I'm happy to share my journey or whatever you may call it.
It was just a matter of time before you were going to come on the show. Don't worry. I mean, I was giving it a bit of time before the heavyweights came on. So let me just give a short introduction to our listeners to Nishant. I mean, he has done so much that it is difficult to make it short, but I will try. So Nishant, as I was telling him, has worn 4 different hats in his journey. The first as a player, he played at the junior level. And this was around the time when Yuvraj Singh and Harbhajan Singh and several other top cricketers were playing. And Nishant was their teammate at the junior level. And then he went on to become a TV journalist. A very accomplished TV journalist for a long time with, worked in places like Aaj Tak, CNN, IBN. And then Nishant then became a player agent. He represented Yuvraj Singh and he was a pillar of support for Yuvraj Singh during the time when he was battling his cancer. And then finally, Nishant went on to work as a media manager for the BCCI and also for the ICC, where he worked as a producer. And so there is very, very little in cricket that Nishant has not done. Is that right?
Yeah, you can say that. I think out of this entire journey, the best part about this entire journey was that game has been so kind to me. This game, this game has given me so much in terms of, and everyone who is involved in cricket in some way or the other. There are so many real life, examples you carry out of the game, especially tragics like us who still live in the world where you want to see a 5th-day test match on a rank turner. And there are so many parallels you can draw around your own life. I still remember once I was speaking with Sanjay Bangar at Karnail Singh Stadium. And he said something very nice to me. He said that, look, the purest form of the game is test cricket. And I said, why you say that? He said, because it's the only form of game which is close to life. He said most of the people, when they start their life, they want to be something, but they don't end up getting what they want. So most of us live drawn life. And at that time in Ranji Trophy, we used to have a lot of these draws. And we started that discussion around that time, why there are so many mundane draws. And, there was this discussion why three first inning lead points are given and all that we were talking. And he said, most of us live drawn life because we set out to achieve something. When we don't achieve it, so it's kind of a draw. Okay, neither you win, neither life wins, nor you lose. And I realized how true it is that how many people get to do what how many people win the test match of their life. So,
and the Karnail Singh Stadium is a great venue for it because Karnail Singh Stadium had 2 different options. One was drab draw, one was 2-day finish. So yes. You either have 2-day finishes or you have drab draw.
Yeah, I still remember I saw one match in Karnail Singh Stadium and that was a Harbhajan Singh. And at that time, Harbhajan Singh was trying to make a comeback after his father's death and all that. Vikram Rathore was the coach. And I have not seen a wicket like that ever in my life. So the 11 yards of the wicket were green strip, moisture, green. and other 11 yards were a rank turner. Can you believe that?
Oh, so seamers from one end and spinners from the other end.
So from one end, Harvinder Singh, and from other end, Harbhajan Singh.
How do you even prepare such a wicket?
It was amazing. I still remember that match, and Punjab managed to win. Yuvraj got 50 odd runs. I still remember that game. And Harbhajan got 5 wickets. And that season, I think he got 28 wickets to make a comeback. I'm talking about 2000. And then
this
around
is before
2000,
the famous series.
Yes, this is just before I think November. Around November, he took 28 wickets and he had 256 runs. I still remember, because at that time, Ranji Trophy was North Zone. It was not North Zone. I think it had changed.
No, just Elite. I think it was Elite Plate.
Yeah, I think they were playing against Railways at Karnail Singh Stadium. And I still remember that wicket. I said, wow, this can only happen at Karnail Singh Stadium.
So that you have, now that you've brought up Yuvraj and Harbhajan and all, take us a bit further back when you were playing actually at the junior level for Punjab, and where you met all these lovely cricketers. And, if you can tell us a bit about your memories of your first impressions of Yuvraj, meeting Harbhajan and those things. I'm sure our listeners would love to listen to that.
That's a long time back. You're making me feel old, but it's early 90s. I moved from Agra to Punjab because I thought at that time in UP, we all believed that the cricket system was not as fair as Punjab. And one credit you have to give to Punjab was that even in 90s, they had a structure which was close to Ranji Trophy. Like at district level, they had under 14 2-day games, 3-day game, 4-day game. So when I was reading that Greg Chappell column where he wrote about how Shubman Gill at the age of 14 is playing 3-day games, I said, yeah, that's correct. That's fact. That's a fact. That's like... So I saw Yuvraj Singh at a Bishan Singh Bedi cricket coaching camp in Chel for the first time. So same Yuvraj Singh that when you look at him, you feel, oh, why I am here on this cricket field? I should be sleeping. Why you have to wake up early in the morning and all that? But give a bat in his hand and the story changed. I still remember in Chel, we were playing, apparently that's the highest cricket pitch in the world.
Yeah.
So 2,444 meters above sea level.
Wow.
So I still remember that. So we carried 2 astroturfs, hockey astroturf, because they had a cement wicket in the middle.
Okay.
So we pasted astroturfs, which was size of strips, size of a cricket pitch. And we pasted those on cement track. So it like, just imagine you are on that height and on top of that, it's an astroturf. So all green. And Yuvraj Singh used to bat like a dream. And, you are batting with him at lunch, you are 30 not out, struggling, getting hit here, there and everywhere. And here is this guy who's like hitting, finding gaps. He's at 78 by the lunch. By tea, when you are scrapping around 40, 45, 60, he has got his 178 and already sitting in the dressing room. And I still remember, because SG balls were very expensive. SG balls are talk of the debate right now. So much discussed at this point. So Bishan Singh Bedi made a rule, because, that ground was like on top of the hill. And there were like, all around, if you lose, if the ball goes out,
it's gone.
It's like, it's gone. It's gone 2,444 meters. So
it's gone to earth.
It's gone to earth. So to stop Yuvraj from hitting those sixes, he made a rule that anyone who hits 6 out of the ground will be out. If you hit a 6 and it stays in the ground, then it is a 6.
Then it is a 6. Okay.
And I still remember, because Yuvraj around at the 13, 14. So we used to poke him. Arey Yuvraj, yaar, chakka nahi mara tune. Kya yaar? Samne maar, side screen pe lagega. And he used to get out. Because
because his sixes were so big.
Yeah, he by that time he had not learned how to stop that six, or how to make sure that six is 70 yards and not 75 yards. That's the difference between getting out and not getting out. And I still remember one shot of him in Jalandhar. We were playing at a Bulton Park Stadium, that old Jalandhar Stadium. And he hit a fast bowler, just, like a straight punch kind of a shot. And trust me, that was the closest thing I have seen how a bullet will travel. So at that time in Bulton Park, CRPF had taken over the Bulton Park, and they used to have barracks. So they had this old, like on the first floor of any stadium, they had this commentary box or whatever you call them. And they had glass like windows over there. That six from the middle of the pitch traveled at the same distance parallel to the earth, straight into that glass door or glass window, nothing broken, just like a bullet will pass, that much hole.
Oh, wow.
So that was the velocity of the shot, that nothing else, like how a bullet will pass at that speed, it will not break the entire glass, it will just pass through. So that
the original tracer bullet.
Original tracer. Original, actually. And Harbhajan, he used to be in the Pace Bowlers Academy in Chandigarh.
Oh, okay.
Sai had started 2 academies, one in Gwalior and one in Chandigarh. And Chandigarh one was under Desh Prem Azad, if you remember Kapil Dev's coach. And there was a coach called Manjeet Singh. I will not name, but some coaches were after him to change his action.
Okay.
And this boy was really grumpy that how can I change my action? Because he was under a very good coach, Virender Arora, who never stopped him to change his original style. But you could make out, Sid, like from day one, you could make out that when you go and do a forward defense to a normal off spinner, how you will anticipate a ball to hit the middle of your bat, or even if that guy is getting little more bounce, it will hit the sticker of the bat. If it hits the sticker of the bat, you could make out that this boy is special. But with Harbhajan, at an ordinary batsman like me, who could not gaze or who could not understand how he's getting that bounce, most of the balls used to come and hit the gloves or the top edge of the bat. And you could make out that this is something really special. And I still remember I went back to my home and my mother asked me, a worried mother, that what will happen to you? I told her, and I still remember I was 14. I said, I don't know what will happen to me, but I have seen 2 boys and they will play for India. And my mother can recall that story very well to you. And she said, "Arey, apne bare mein aise nahi bolta, dusron ke bare mein bolta." This is the first time I have realized in my life that life is not fair. God is not fair. Why they have that talent and why we don't have is something I can't answer. And then I saw Yuvraj.
Did you see that match where Yuvraj made that 100 against Bihar?
I heard about that match. Because we were in Punjab, and there are so many stories around that match that is unbelievable. That is the first time Punjab had qualified for the finals.
Cooch Bihar, yeah.
Cooch Bihar. And the story was that he got Punjab, because that was the first time also Bihar at that time had also qualified, and the match was happening in Bihar.
Yeah.
So Bihar with that kind of sentiment, a small state, suddenly into the finals. Normally, Cooch Bihar finals were Karnataka versus UP, because UP had a lot of overage players. So if you look at the history of Cooch Bihar, you will find a lot of finals played by UP, MP at that time. And suddenly you see Punjab playing against Bihar final. And they got 357, which they thought is a very good score to get that first inning lead and win the match. And already, I still remember the local newspaper at that time was Prabhat Times, in very famous newspaper, local. And they had already said, Bihar ka sapna pura hone ko hai, and all that, without realizing that lazy looking boy will come and hit them.
And beat the lead on his own.
Yeah. And I still remember Yuvraj standing on the boundary had to take maximum amount of sledges. Biharis, when they have a very sharp tongue. When they want to say something, they can say it in their own style. And Yuvraj, because he used to use those sun cream, his kit bag used to be the most fashionable, he had sunglasses, so he used to stand out among cricketers, not just with his talent, but with his persona as well. So if you saw that scene in that Dhoni movie where he walks out with a Walkman, and I think that actually is the closest, in that entire movie, that was the real scene actually. If you know Yuvraj, if you know what would have happened. So, and he was getting a lot of this, negative kind of attention because of that. So he was the most pained and disturbed. And I still remember Mr. Bawa was the coach, who was our coach at Chandigarh, Mr. S.S. Bawa.
Sukhwinder Bawa. Yeah.
Sukhwinder Bawa was the coach of the Punjab team. So he told, "Yuvi, dekh le, tu 200 banana." When Yuvi got out at 358, so Amit Sharma, who's an ex-Punjab player and a very good friend of Yuvi, called him in the evening. And he said, "Yuvi, tu kitne run banaye?" कहता पाजी 358. तो कहता वो तो टीम दे रन बनाए, तू किन्ने बनाए? कहता पाजी मैं 358 बनाया है. So he was like, यार तू तो फर्स्ट इनिंग लीड अकेला कर दी. I think Yuvraj Singh, if under 19 cricket was world international cricket, Yuvraj Singh was the Viv Richards. I still remember, if you recall, I still had that Sports Star a little while. I was watching it a few days back at my home in India, like when I was there in India last time. He and Rajat Bhatia against Sri Lanka under 19. They got some usual 200, 300 kind of a partnership. But you know what was the interesting story? 3 players of Sri Lanka in one game, in one innings, went back home.
Why? Injured?
One was trying to stop the straight drive from Yuvraj Singh, broke his ankle. One was trying to stop a cover drive, broke his thumb. And one had a web, which was with 17 stitches or something like that.
Oh my goodness.
Between lunch and tea, from a 14-player team, Sri Lanka became an 11-player team.
He destroyed the players only. Forget the ball.
And I'm telling you, I have seen only 2 players. Mohali nets. Have you ever seen the Mohali nets?
Yes.
The old Mohali nets, they had a very narrow kind of a place, very small place for the bowlers. It's not like a very long run-up place and all that.
I nearly got hit by Yuvraj Singh in that nets, by the way.
I'm telling you, I have only seen 2 players in my life where bowlers don't finish their follow-through against them. One was Sachin Tendulkar, one was Yuvraj Singh. Because of their ability to hit back at the bowler so strong, so bowlers were always worried कि ये punch मारेगा तो मेरे ही लगेगा. And they had these poles, so the ball used to ricochet and come at you from unexpected places. So then they had these foams all over, thanks to Yuvraj Singh and Sachin Tendulkar.
Yeah, Yuvraj Singh, and I remember that one day, it's so deceptive. He plays a shot and you don't realize that the ball is going to get to you in less than a second. Because you think, okay, I can move out of the way, but you can't.
Oh man, no, that's... And same like Harbhajan, he used to take wickets in heaps. 7 wickets, 6 wickets, run through sides. Till the time he reached Ranji Trophy, there was no match for him at that level. So he was like a Muhammad Ali doing boxing in a 40 kg category. Or you ask Schumacher to, yaar tu jaake na yahan pe local race ho rahi hai, usme gaadi chala le. By the time he reached Ranji Trophy, that's where he got. Even in Ranji Trophy, against sides like Himachal and all, he used to finish them. So, unbelievable players.
So, so we're talking sometime around the early 2000s when Yuvraj Singh came into the side. Harbhajan Singh had already debuted, but then he was making his comeback. That must have been around the time when you were getting into journalism, right? Or was it a little earlier?
Just around that time. One day, Bishan Singh Bedi called me and he said, "Beta, tere bas ki nahi hai." And he was the real coach, so he could see.
He could see talent.
He could see talent. So I also realized that it's better to observe and absorb rather than getting observed. I'm not someone should be observed. And God was kind at that time. This industry was going through a revolution in terms of the web had just come. The first burst of web had come. So I actually worked with India.com, if you remember, INDYA, under Gulu Ezekiel. I worked with Asian Age also for a while, and that was only 2 months. Maybe I was also not made for writing. I was made for talking about the game, and then Aaj Tak had started their 24/7 news channel, and the great Uday Shankar of Star was one of our ex-Star now. So he did my interview, and I think at that time, that was the first time they hired me as a cricket reporter. So at that time, there used to be sports reporters. So someone asked Uday Shankar, why are you giving him this, designation of cricket reporter? He said, अरे चिरकुट, इंडिया में क्रिकेट ही तो गेम है, बाकी तो ठीक है. अब क्या बोलूं, क्रिकेट करता तो क्रिकेट ही करेगा और क्या करेगा. So those were wonderful days, and I started, and my first series was India versus Australia, which I covered the entire series. That famous
series. That must have been even more special for you because of Harbhajan's performance.
Yes, because we were friends, and I was like very closely observing what he was going through. He lost his father and all that, and how hard he was trying to make that comeback. And it was a make or break series for him, because Saurav Ganguly had like gone against all the selectors. I still remember, because I was covering that side game in Nagpur, some board president 11 versus Australia, and how he went against all the selectors to get him selected. So if things would not have turned out the way it turned out for him, Harbhajan may have been history. And there were like withdrawal symptoms from him around 2000. Like any other Punjabi from Punjab, he was thinking about, so many friends are in US or Canada. If this doesn't work for me, I have 5 sisters to support. And he had lost his father. So he was also thinking of all those things, that maybe cricket is not for me. But that series changed everything for him. And I still remember, and it's a great story. It's a great Harbhajan Singh story. When he got his hat-trick. So that evening, I was in that famous Taj Bengal room with him. So the umpire came to get something signed. So he just walked into the room because the door was open. So Harbhajan said, "Arey, aap kaun hai? Aise aap room mein chale aa rahe hain." So that was the third umpire. You remember the last wicket was Shane Warne, taken, caught at short leg by Sadagopan Ramesh. And they had to call the third umpire. He said, "Arey sir, main wo third umpire hu jiski wajah se aapki hat-trick hui." Oh, there is it. So, and that evening, Harbhajan got really emotional, and he got emotional, and I asked him, he said, "Today is the day I'm missing my father the most." So he said he was actually, the last time he saw his father healthy was when he was going to NCA. And that was the month of May. That was the first, if you remember, that was the first year of NCA 2000, first or second year of under Harbhajan Singh. And that is also year he was expelled from NCA.
Correct.
Because of disciplinary
reasons. Some menu, something he wanted, something else in the menu.
So, Harbhajan's house in Jalandhar is next to the railway station. There's a railway station, and then there is a railway track, and on the other side, they have this colony called Krishna Colony, or whatever the name is, Krishnapuri or something. That's where his house was. So he forgot a bag, and it was a month of May, and he was taking that Shatabdi Jalandhar to Delhi around 4 o'clock or something like that. So he was at the station. His father realized that he has forgotten a bag or something. So his father thought the shortest route to reach the station would be crossing the railway line, and rather than taking a long route, and make sure that he gets that bag. So, on the railway tracks, you have those pebbles and all that. So in that, he broke his slippers. Harbhajan's father broke his slippers. It's a month of May, like scorching heat and all that. So his father, bag in one hand and the broken slipper in other hand, walked to the railway station to give the bag to his son. So Harbhajan said that, why are you like, why have you come? He said, you would have not, I thought that this bag will be important for you. So that's the last time he saw his father like walking. And that
after
like,
that he had passed away. Yeah.
After that, when he came, he was on like in hospital and all that.
Oh, okay. So the last time he saw him fit.
Yes. So that stayed with him. Like it's a lot of people see the kind of fame and all that. A lot of people don't know these stories. The kind of layers they have under them are unbelievable.
So that's the thing I want to know. So you knew all these stories, but I'm sure there was a number of times that number of these stories that you couldn't report on. That must have been a fine line for you to draw, right? Like, because you knew these cricketers so well, but at the same time, you can't let everything out in the public domain.
I think that was my biggest struggle for those 11 years when I was a cricket journalist, that you know so many things and then you look at it from the angle of friendship, from the angle of a human angle, that how you will take it, and then also your professional responsibilities. And for me, the biggest, I think, challenge was how, because now it is written in the book of Yuvraj.
Yuvraj Singh,
how not let the world know that he has cancer.
Yeah.
I like actually saw him coughing, going through that tough time, all that in that World Cup. I was actually covering that World Cup and I was mostly in the team hotel all of the time. So having food with him, I still remember in Chennai, we had a long, before going to Bangladesh, we had a long training camp or some practice games in Chennai. And we were staying in Crown Plaza. So he had ordered dosa and we were having dosa, and suddenly he had this burst of cough. And I still remember Yuvraj would do like this while coughing like this. And suddenly I saw everything going red here. So I said, what's wrong with
in his shirt?
On his collar.
Collar.
You could see that the blood has come out. So he went to the washroom and there was a lump that came out of his body. I said, तेरे संग कुछ solid है भाई, तू डॉक्टर को दिखा ले. So he said, let it pass. This 50 days, let it go. बाद में देखेंगे जो देखना है. अभी कुछ नहीं. So he went through that and when he got his
but even you wouldn't have known, right? But you would have known something was wrong, but you wouldn't have known it's cancer.
Yeah, the worst we had thought was it must be a bronchi. It must be TB at worst. And you know how his thing got traced was that one of his friends had started an MRI center in GK2. And he was there to inaugurate that with Bishan Singh Bedi. And he had just finished IPL after that. And during that, like you have normal press conference and all that, he was sitting with Bishan Singh Bedi. And by that time, Yuvraj Singh, man of the tournament, all that, So he was sitting on that dais. And I still remember not a single sentence he could finish without coughing. So, all of us who were there said, अरे यार इतना खांसता रहता है, तू एक टेस्ट करा ले यहाँ पे. We are here, why don't you get yourself tested? So on that day, I don't know what happened to him, and he got tested. He got an X-ray done. And when the X-ray was happening, which was according to us just a routine checkup, it was month of May, I think, 2001 or 2011.
2011, just 2 months after 1 month after the World Cup. Huh.
Yeah, 1.5 months, just after the IPL, because he was playing for, I think, Pune Warriors or something. And this doctor came out running to us and he said, guys, you need to do something about it. I can't see one lung. I just can't see one lung. And then from May to January, how to hide that story was one of the biggest professional, I would say that's the time I cheated my profession. Because as a journalist, your job is to tell the story. But, you were doing it for a bigger cause, or, you thought that that is what your friend needed at that time. So those kind of challenges were always there. And just to hide it from the May of month, taking him to, like, you still remember there's Dinesh Chopra and me. We used to go to the hospital and do Reikis where he used to go for his tests. That how we will enter from here and walk out from there. We used to sanitize the entire place, that how it should be journalist free. And we being journalists, knowing everything, that how the story can get leaked, we used to cover everything to the best of our ability.
Yeah. Yeah, that book, it's a must read. I mean, it's the book that Nishant and Sharda co-wrote with Yuvraj Singh, and I would urge all our listeners to pick it up. And it's a very human story. If you haven't read it, please do. And it's a wonderful story of behind the scenes. And in fact, it's probably the only book that tells you also a lot about India's World Cup victory in 2011, because there is not, there are very few documented books on that particular tournament. Hopefully there will be more at some point. But the other thing
there was a very funny story about that book. So when we were writing that book, and Sharda will also tell you that Yuvraj said, "Arey 6 महीने से लिख रहे हो, किताब कब आएगी?" So we said, "अब हमने लिख दी है, वो proof reading के लिए गई है." So he said, "What is this proofreading?" I said, "Where they check all the I's and T's. Yeah, all the T's are crossed and all the I's are there. Grammar and everything." कहता बस यहीं तो गलती कर रहे हो. अगर सब कुछ ठीक कर दोगे तो मेरी किताब कहाँ से लगेगी वो?
That's a good story.
That's a Yuvraj Singh. That's Yuvraj Singh for you.
So, but let's step back a bit. So when you started around that time, early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, was also the time when, the team itself was undergoing a transition with Ganguly becoming captain. And then, of course, the team was coming out of the whole match-fixing saga. And then they had, for the next 4-5 years almost, they had like a lot of very interesting tours from a journalistic point of view. So, whether
and we were part of some of them. We were together. Yeah. I'll tell you something. Like any other cricket fan, I was a huge Azharuddin fan. Like my two favorite batsmen at that time were Marquardt and Mohammad Azharuddin when I was growing up as a cricketer. And I still remember, even at that time, how I used to defend Azharuddin. And a lot of people used to go after him because of his religion also. And I used to defend him. No, he's a great player and all that. And when everything happened around that, you were heartbroken. I still remember, those were very early days for me as a journalist. I was with India.com, going into that CBI press conference, famous press conference with Vijay Lokapalli. He gave me lift that day. And while coming back, me and Vijay both were crying. Vijay from Hyderabad and I being a huge Azhar fan, because we didn't, somewhere we knew that this would be part of the CBI report, but at the same time, our heart was never ready to hear it. And then Ganguly came. So, no matter, I have huge respect for Virat Kohli. I have huge respect for Dhoni. I have seen these guys, how hard they work, how they have changed the game. My team and your team, I can say that very safely, would be the team of Ganguly. But that's the fact. That's the team.
And I think that is also because of what happened with the fixing. I think a lot of people who were deeply moved by the fixing were also moved by what happened after that.
Yes. Because we never anticipated.
So you can pick out, so actually speaking, if you go purely by win and loss record, then Dhoni's team and Kohli's team and all are far ahead. But I think that emotional component is very important in the Ganguly.
No, and it's like any generation. Your father will always say, okay, there must be Sachin Tendulkar, but there was no one like Gavaskar.
Correct.
Because you always reflect the time in which you were growing up. You are part of your upbringing. You are product of your upbringing. So those were the days when, and you never expected this team to come back so strongly. After all what has happened, suddenly to see the team winning in Adelaide, winning at Rawalpindi, and so many little stories. I still remember in Pindi in 2004, and the kind of bond you had at that time with the team was outstanding. I'll tell you one story. At Pindi, India had won a test match. Just imagine India had won one of the greatest series of all time against Pakistan. And I do eye contact with Ganguly. And I, in my eyes, I ask him a question, where is my interview?
Okay.
So he gives me a signal, come to the hotel, which no one standing down, all the journalists, no one could see that there has a communication happen. So I quietly, my colleague Aksha was there. I told Aksha, you stay here, I'm going. I quietly move out of that place, park myself in the Marriott Islamabad. Ganguly comes in. I said, Dada, I am ready by the pool. Dada being Dada, yaar mujhko upar to jaane de, thoda change karke aane de. And you had that kind of liberty with those guys. I said, Dada, aap upar jaoge na, niche nahi aoge. मुझे पता है ये बात. और फिर तब तक सब आ जाएंगे. तो आप देख लो, आपको 4 घंटे इंटरव्यू करना है कि 15 मिनट मेरे साथ करना है. So he said, तू मानता नहीं है रे. And then he did that interview with me for 15 minutes. And I was the only guy to got an interview with him that day when we won the series. So there were so many great stories attached to, or even in 2007 when they, lost the World Cup. 2003 in South Africa.
The final.
When they finals. And at that time, I was with NDTV and we were supposed to do we had a deal with Ganguly where he used to do interview. And now Ganguly, suddenly the deal is gone because Ganguly has lost the World Cup. He doesn't want to talk and all that. And I am trying to reach Ganguly because my office is after me that we need that interview. It's a sponsored interview and all that. And, office calls you and says, there has to be certain amount of professionalism, win or lose. You need to talk because you're paid for that. And how do you explain that to a guy who has lost a World Cup final? So I had to go to the hotel on the floor where the team was. And I was aware that the moment I see Ganguly, he will do. But it's just that he's avoiding me. So I call Sanjay Bangar that please take me upstairs. The poor guy comes down in that Johannesburg hotel to take me up to the floor. And Ganguly sees in me, first thing he says, "Kahan tha re tu?" And I'm like, I have called you 500 times. So, these kind of, that journey will always stay with you. So,
yeah, and also that was, I remember that of course, there was Australia, there was Pakistan, then there was a number of matches in India. But I remember, I was not there for the first tour of Pakistan, but of course, I was there for the second tour in 2006. And when me and you had this memorable meeting with Dhoni, the interview that you...
That rarest of rare time when Dhoni used to speak to media.
But you know what? Dhoni has probably done very, very, very few interviews. And
that's what I'm saying.
Perhaps one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So if he has done 10 interviews, if he have done, I think before he became captain, he did 5 interviews or 4 interviews out of that. And the one long featureless interview, it was what we did together, sitting in his room while we always thought that he's hardly listening to us because he was so engrossed in the game. He was playing some video game. He was
playing video game with RP.
And giving life lessons to RP with the video game analogies.
Correct. So actually, but you know what I remember from that? We spoke to him. This was in Islamabad. We spoke to him for nearly, I think, 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
And after that, when we came out, this was in 2006. I remember you told me, mark my words, we have done a big interview with the future captain of India. In 2006, you told me this. And within a year, your prediction was true.
I don't know why I said this, but you could make out there was something special about that boy, isn't it? Like you could make out the kind of. I think Indian cricket in 2000 saw 2 yogis in terms of the way they were detached to the entire situation. One was Virender Sehwag and one was Dhoni. I always thought that if you want to do meditation, see Virender Sehwag batting. He was meditation. I still remember I telling Viru once that कल मैं आपकी बैटिंग देखने आऊंगा तो his answer was 9:29 पे आ जाइयो 9:31 की गारंटी नहीं.
That's a great line.
He said, come at 9:29, 9:31, I can't guarantee you I will be there or not. And, he used to actually wear that. He actually used to carry that, that clutter-free mind of, being played at certain level, at any level. How you can just cut your thoughts and be in that moment is something, and I think Dhoni did that as a captain. And that is even bigger thing, like where you have so many emotions going around you, but you just have to like live in that moment.
Yeah, so I think talking about Virender Sehwag, you didn't you do that? You and Chandrahas.
Me and Chandrahas, we went to his house.
Exactly. So I let me tell the listeners, I will link that interview. This is Virender Sehwag talking about his, was it at Chennai, right?
155.
155 in Chennai against
Shane
Australia.
And Megra in Chennai.
Correct. And these guys did a lovely interview with him. Yeah, you went to his house.
Yes.
And you made him watch the whole thing. That I'm even more surprised he sat and watched it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that was the beauty of that time, Sid, that you had the liberty to actually look at, live their, see their life, how they live. I actually used to walk into Ganguly's room and take out his Mary biscuit, because Ganguly used to carry Mary biscuit wherever he went. I actually used to go to his room and say, Dada, ye aapke biscuit bahut achhe hain, main leke chale jaata. That kind of access you had to the players. I still remember in 2006, that tour, I told Harbhajan, Yuvraj and Gautam Gambhir, I said that you are in Islamabad, why are you not going to Panja Sahib? And they said, why don't you arrange? Can you imagine you telling in today's day and age to arrange something for the professional cricket players to go out and visit a shrine or a temple or a gurdwara? And these guys, I hired a big van. They went with me to Panja Sahib Gurdwara. I didn't do any story on that. Nothing.
This was just for their personal benefit.
Yeah. And they had langar there. I still remember Gautam Gambhir was so excited because we had to carry some security guys. So Gautam Gambhir, I still have that picture where he's having a AK-47 in his hand, and they are putting that panja in the place where Guru Nanak's holy hand was there and all that. And you could live those things. How much you get to know about them as a person was unbelievable. I was lucky that when I went to the Indian dressing room, I saw some of that. I saw greatness in making with Virat Kohli. And I understood that how dressing room is such a volatile place. Like India have won a test match. You have 11 players sitting. Everyone should be happy because India has won a test match. But you suddenly realize there is a guy who has got 5 wickets and he's like on top of the world. And there is a guy, his team has also won. He has only got 2 wickets. I will not name. And he is like heartbroken because 3 catches were dropped. And he's looking at the guy sitting next to him that he has got 5 for, which I could have got. So there are 2 emotions at the same place in the same, small area, and people are dealing with different kind of emotions. So it's such a volatile place.
Coming back to that interview, you went to Sehwag's house. He watched that whole innings ball by ball, and he spoke to you about it.
Obviously, that inning would have been longer. We did little bit of reverse and forward. But most part of it where he played those against the spin flicks to Shane Warne, or how he stood 1 meter outside his crease to deal with Gillespie or McGrath. And I still forget that could have been one of the greatest test matches if there was no
rain on the
thunderstorm. No thunderstorm on the last day. Yuvraj Singh and Virender Sehwag were not out on the last day, and India was supposed to chase 212 runs.
And I think Sehwag finished the 4th day with some 2 fours or something like that.
Last ball, he hit a boundary. Yeah. He didn't look at the scorecard. He didn't look at any bowler. He just hit a boundary and started walking back to the plate.
Walking. Yeah. No, but I'm just saying, we can't even imagine a situation where a modern day great sits down with a journalist, 2 journalists, watches a game, talks to them through it.
And his mother and at his home, and his mother constantly came. And I knew his family. Are lassi pee lo, doodh pee lo. And you are saying, hum kaam karne aaye yahan pe. And that kind of time you had I still feel that we were really lucky. We were really,
I was equally lucky. In 2006, I was lucky that I went to Hyderabad. I wanted to interview VVS Lakshman. He said, come home. And he gave me lunch at his house. And, those are things that you are privileged to have gone through. He not only gave me an interview, he gave me lunch at his own house.
I think, if you look at this entire thing, I think everything started going bad around 2005 2005, and I'm a TV journalist, so I can give you a little more because we are partly responsible for that, because that is the time when Greg Chappell and Saurav Ganguly started fighting with each other, and that is the time when Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi culture came in TV.
Correct.
And that somehow got spilled over to cricket as well. So that entire Ganguly Chappell conflict became Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi of cricket. So there was a set of journalists who were with the Saas, and there was a set of journalists who were with the Bahu. And that is how it was reported.
And it was produced like a soap opera also.
Yeah. So then that is the time one could make out that how players are distancing themselves, because I cannot name, in 2008, India was in Sri Lanka, and there was like a graphic, thing of who is eating breakfast at the table with whom. And it was like a half an hour show to show the divide in the team. Divide in the team is the most common story of any Indian cricket. Like anytime, anywhere, whether it is Bishan Singh Bedi Gavaskar, whether it is Kapil Dev Gavaskar, that story has always sold. But in 2006, it got, with the TV boom and everything, it got a completely different meaning. And that is the time players started distancing themselves. And by 2011, it became you versus us.
And by 2011, they also had their own outlets. They could go on Twitter and Facebook, and now they can go on Instagram and they can.
I think that happened around 2015-16. I would say that 2011 was actually 2011 to 2015. I feel sorry for the people who covered cricket at that time. Luckily, I was not covering. I get to know the stories where black sheets were put where Indian team was practicing.
Oh, okay.
So that kind of stuff also happened. Just imagine you're covering a 2-month World Cup in Australia, and you have one press conference on Sunday and the next press conference on next Sunday, and all week you do is anticipation.
Just wait for that press conference.
Yeah, match-to-match press conference, no access, nothing. So I think.
So you're saying that TV is to blame for this largely?
To a large extent. To a large extent, and also at that time, I would say that in print also, stories like when this sources thing became very common, and that happened everywhere. Obviously, TV's impact was more, and the beauty of TV was at that time. Right now, TV cannot do anything and get away with it because there is a digital impression of it, which will be thrown at you at any, it will be there. But at 2005, 2006, you used to go to shows where the players were criticized, and the banners were made by the producers and given to the people to show the anger of people.
Oh, okay, that way. The manipulated.
Yeah. I can, I don't know whether you'll keep the story or not, but I'll share that story. I was in a newsroom, and that is the time India was in South Africa, and Ganguly was not selected and then selected.
And
India had lost. Greg Chappell time. And India had lost 4 one-dayers in a row. So my our executive producer, who's a very famous man right now, I don't want to name him, in a morning meeting, he calls our reporter in Calcutta and says, "Arey," and I was working for a Hindi channel. So he said, "Arey, itna ho raha hai, tumhare shehar mein koi danga fasad nahi ho raha Ganguly ko leke?" And that guy was half sleeping at that time. Dada, kuch nahi ho raha kya? Arey, kuch karo. अच्छा मैं आपको आधे घंटे में फोन करता हूँ. In half an hour he calls. I have spoken to a few guys. They will charge 3,000 rupees. We will burn effigy of Chappell. We will call 10-15 guys, but the entire cost will be 3,000 rupees. So tell accounts to take it from my impressed account and do that. At 1 o'clock, the beauty of camera is that 10 looks 100. And there are these 10 guys standing, burning the effigy, and all of that was created. It was not like original. A lot of
manufactured anger. Yeah. So and when you went to when you worked for the board as the media manager, you would have got an even bigger view of this, because you would have then been firefighting many of these manufactured stories.
I think when I joined BCCI, the relation between media and players was completely broken. Like there was no communication, there was nothing happening at that time. So, and we had to take like baby steps, like doing regular press conferences, starting the press conference off. And at that time, credit to the people who had just come to the BCCI understood the importance of communication. So doing those baby steps like selectors talking after every selection meeting, doing regular press conferences of like on tour or every day, giving one player. And my funda was very simple. I said there are 3 sports pages. Out of that, 1.5 page belongs to cricket. Either you give them your version or they will write what they want to write. And if they are writing what they want to write, that is very dangerous. So at least give them something to write. So at least half a page belongs to your story or your version. And that, I think, somehow was understood, thankfully. That don't leave it to their anticipation. And
yeah, because if you give them something, then their chance of them creating something is slightly lesser. They still might, but they may not be tempted to do that.
Yeah.
So we are running out of time, and thank you for giving out so much time. But I have one question for you, which is that tell me why, and I have to ask you this because it is too funny. Tell me why you love Ashish Nehra.
Anyone who doesn't, if you have been in touch with Ashish Nehra, he's the real star, man. If tomorrow there is a case filed or there is a dispute between bowlers and batters, if Ashish Nehra becomes a lawyer for bowlers, batsmen have no chance of winning that case. No chance, boss. No chance. He will destroy you with evidence. He will destroy you with the anecdotes. Ashish Nehra is the greatest storyteller
Champion of bowlers.
Champion of bowlers. And he is one guy, if you sit with him for half an hour, you will believe that bowlers in India have gone through a lot of pain. The entire world has not been kind to them. And this is the world which has been against bowlers. And you will start a movement to support the bowlers.
So he was the guy who in the team meetings used to always stand up for bowlers, right?
Yeah. He and Javagal Srinath. Srinath was the original one, but Ashish Nehra took it to another level. Ashish Nehra, he is one of those guys who's so honest, and he is like, he will never mince his words if he knows you. And there is that Haryanvi sense of humor in him, which makes it even more special. You have to, I can't describe Ashish Nehra to you.
He's an experience.
He's an experience which you need to have. Anyone who wants to understand Ashish Nehra has to watch that Gaurav Kapoor Breakfast with Champions. That's the closest you will understand that man, what that man is actually.
Yeah, so I will definitely link that.
Yeah, please. I still feel that Gaurav Kapoor has done the greatest of interviews. I really love him. He has spoken to Tendulkars and Gangulis and everyone. But that Ashish Nehra interview is some other level. I still remember the next interview after that was with Virat Kohli.
Yeah.
And Virat Kohli says, जब मैंने वो देख लिया ना, तो मुझे लगा ये करना पड़ेगा. Because अब Gaurav Kapoor has achieved some different level.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'll link that, and all of you, hopefully at some point of time, we can get Nishant back on to ask him several other stories about Indian cricket. So yeah, thank you so much, Nishant, for joining us. It was wonderful. And I will definitely call you again at some time and we can chat much more about Indian cricket.
Yeah, and I think me and Sid are actually planning to do some clubhouse chats. So you can join us, and you can join us there, and where I think we'll have more time to tell these great stories about Indian cricket.
Oh, yes. So anyone with the Clubhouse app, please get on there. You can follow Nishant and me there. And we'll be putting out some information about our sessions and chatting. And it'll be great to also have you people contribute to that chat. So thanks, Nishant. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much, Sid. Thank you very much.
That brings us to the end of another episode of the 81 All Out podcast. If you enjoy the work we do, please support us via coffee.com. That's ko-fi.com/81allout. You can find the link in the show notes, and it will allow you to either set up a recurring monthly payment or throw in a one-time contribution. Also, please subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever else you prefer. It would be great if you could leave a rating and a review so that more people can find us. As always, we would love to hear your thoughts on the work we do. So please send us your feedback.